Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the 11th round of this Midwest F1 season, on a day which could make or break several drivers' championship seasons, and a day which some drivers hope to stay afloat. Hot spot here on the call with us in Division 1. A few clouds in the sky, but no threat of rain as tonight the traveling circus heads to the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria, a beautiful 4.3-kilometer circuit which features 10 corners and 3 DRS zones. Now don't let the short lap times and long straights fool you, for the racing is brilliant amongst a sea of orange supporters. And yeah, this one is going to be huge, ladies and gentlemen, the Division 1 grid. But before we can begin, let's take a look at our starting grid for the Austrian Grand Prix. It's Ryan Rod's taking pole position by 0.2 of a second over Say in the Ferrari, I believe his best qualifying result of the season. It's Dace in third, Race Day in fourth, Scornsey, our championship leader, in fifth. It's a third row lockout for McLaren as Matt Rossi takes sixth, Kate Thomas seventh, Shelley the Turtle eighth, GSR Edwin, who finds himself fourth in the championship heading into tonight. He's got a lot of work to do starting from ninth. Dusty Lusky 10th, 11th is Lancey, 12th is Got Palmer, 13th Mitch Burns, 14th is Hoxton, 15th Aero Racing Design, 16th is Bacon, 17th Scavney, 18th is Shirai Coleslaw, 19th is Smith Pell, and rounding out the field, unfortunately a 10th row lockout for the Alpine team as Smith Pell occupies 19th and Nicky 64 starting last in P20. Very surprising turn of events here in the qualifying session. A lot of names in between a lot of our championship contenders. Let's see what happens here. So the formation lap about to get underway here. Midwest F1 brought to you by Raise Energy, Epos Audio, and Sim Racer Coin on a round that very much could determine a lot of the proceedings here for the final couple of rounds of this Division 1 championship. It's really much been the rubber match between Scornsey and GSR Ryan Rods. An absolutely incredible display they put on. Every single time one of them gets an advantage, the other one just has to strike back and even outdo them. And in the process, they've invited two other drivers in both Race Day 2016 and I believe GSR Edwin as well. Now a four-way battle for the Division 1 Drivers' Championship. It's a masterclass of competition in this league's premier division. Beyond forgery, beyond imitation, beyond limitation of our imagination, you have absolutely no reason to turn your eyes away from this unbelievable championship fight, and we might just have ourselves another chapter turned in this book being written every single week, and a championship that could live on in many memories for many years to come. I tell you what, if you were a fan of poetry, you would have enjoyed that. Let's look at tires, why not? Most of the grid starting on the mediums. GSR Ryan Rods on pole. Say in second. I believe we've only got, 3 drivers starting on the hards. It's Got Palmer, Hoxton, and Aero Racing Design. Once again, conflicting strategies from the Williams team. As far as the tires goes, those mediums will last you between 16 and 20. The hards 22 to 28. 36 laps on tap for us today. I wouldn't expect to see the soft tires in use, whatever, unless we get a late safety car. And real quick, just as we do talk about this championship battle, let's go ahead and look at the driver standings. Scornsey atop, 873. Race Day, 868. Ryan Rod's third, 864. Edwin, a little bit further behind, at 822, and Lancey rounds out the top 5. As far as constructor standing goes, Mercedes is really running away with this one, 1864. McLaren 1426 in second, Alfa Romeo third at 1375, Williams 1319, Haas 1318. So a battle within the top 5. Red Bull 6th, Aston Martin 7th, AlphaTauri 8th, Alpine 9th, and Ferrari in P10. A season to forget for the Tifosi, but a qualifying session to remember for Say, who very well could have himself a lunge at the lead here if he's able to make it happen. Look at the angle that Race Day has assorted himself here, pointed right in between the top 2 drivers there. Look at Dace, that is a bit of an angle he'll have to be in as well as the grid forms up here. Ryan Rod's on pole, might have himself the ability to crack the top 2 in the championship standings once more, and they are off here in Austria. Ryan Rods has definitely gotten the better start. Race Day's not gotten off well at all. He'll be overtaken by the McLaren down to the inside. Looks like into the first corner. Dace has gotten away from Scornsey. As we look back, Kate Thomas getting around Race Day there. Race Day is really at a start to forget, it has to be said. It looks like Dusty Lusky falling down to 11th. A little bit into the grass there for for Dusty. It looks like Lancey and Edwin side by side here. Edwin's going to have a lot of work to do today if he wants to keep himself within this championship battle. Scornsey and Kate Thomas side by side. Scornsey's going to go around perhaps stops. He's going to look for it for Dace as well. He's gotten Cake Thomas. I don't want to say he'll have the preferred line into turn 4 either. Really having to use the majority of the track here. Cake Thomas on his inside. He'll really have an advantage trying to strike back at Scornsy, and he will. He'll get around the McLaren before getting into turn number 6, as Scornsy has the bottom line into that corner, and he will be able to take back the Red Bull. All the while, Race Day hoping someone can make a mistake. He almost had an opening there, but it wasn't able to be made happen, as Race Day holds on to 6 for now. It looks like at the top of the grid, Ryan Rodds has mounted an 0.8 of a second lead and counting, which is really what typically is going to happen. We have Ryan Rodds at the top of the field. He gets that lead, and once he's in clean air, there's no turning back. Race Day 2016 within 0.2 of Cake Thomas here. Matt Rosie in a really good position, but can he keep it clean, and can he keep himself in the battle? Those are going to be the two predominant questions on display here. Here comes Race Day looking up the left side up into turn 3. This is going to be a really difficult move to make. Still sticking with it around the outside. Brilliant racing between these two. Cake Thomas and that Red Bull team on the eve of the Red Bull 2023 car launch. I'm afraid he's been overtaken there by Race Day. Matt Rosie down to the inside. Does he have enough to make the overtake past Cake? Oh, I'm not sure he did. Cake's just gotten better acceleration coming off the corner there, and he'll have the better line into turn 6 as well. Matt Rosie's going to have to wait for another opportunity, it seems. Thankfully, DRS is going to be in play next time by. Great racing here on the opening laps of the Division 1, the 11th round. I think I've got that right. Could be wrong. I don't typically get things right from time to time. 0.3 of a second. Ryan Rod's fastest lap yet again, 107.347. It's a 1.5 difference between himself and second place of Say. I will say, oh, as Scornsy's gone properly wide through turn 1 there. Oh, and I believe Cake has just had an off. Oh, and that is not good. He spun it coming out of turn 1. Dropping well down the order now is Cake Thomas, a driver who really, in his words, has been in somewhat of a slump recently. Oh, and it has to be said, that is proper unfortunate to see there. In the meantime, it looks like Edwin's improved up to 8th. Only just can we see positions gained and lost. Aero Racing Design up 5. Edwin up 1. Lancey up 2. Scavney up 3. Cake Thomas, unfortunately, as we just saw, the biggest mover in the negative direction there, down 13. The top 3 have stayed the same. Only one other change within the top 6, Scornsy getting past Race Day. But for now, everything looks calm for the time being. JSR Edwin still within 0.5 of a second. And I'm afraid this is going to be the only deficit we see of the racing here. These DRS trains coming into play. It's going to be a lot of following the driver behind us. It looks like Hoxton almost had a move at Dusty Lusky there. Really had to go looking for it. Almost had it as well. Who had the better acceleration out of turn 1? Looks like it's going to be even Stevens. Hoxton is using the battery. Will he have a move into turn 3? Oh, I tell you what, Dusty locked up there. And Aero Racing Design, credit to him, got in the way of Dusty Lusky and was able to he really stayed within the line of Dusty Lusky. Dusty made the mistake, and Hoxton was able to benefit there. I have to say, that was inadvertently brilliant team play from the Williams drivers, as now they go toe-to-toe through turn 6. It looks like now Scornsy might be having a look at Dace here within this next lap. We'll have to see if he can make something happen. 0.4 of a second. It was as close as 2 not long ago, as we got another yellow flag towards the back. Oh, and I'm afraid double trouble for the lads out of Milton Keynes. It's both Red Bulls spinning to the back. Not what I wanted to see there. Let's see if perhaps Scornsy, who I think has gone wide yet again out of turn 1. I think he's actually more under pressure from Race Day than he is from pressuring Dace for that 3rd spot. Dace, by the way, really hunting down Say up there in 2nd place. We'll have to wait and see what happens to that. Two Williams drivers, these two have not been afraid to try to duke it out here amongst themselves. And it looks like for now they're actually keeping it clean, which is good to see. You don't want to see teammates getting into it and making mistakes. For now, and as I say that, they're once again right close to each other. Again, both drivers started on the hards, conflicting strategies for the Williams team. I think we saw that at Jeddah as well, perhaps. So maybe a little lack of communication. I could be getting my facts wrong there. I apologize, but something rung a bell. Anyways, here's Dace within 0.5 of a second of Say ahead. Doesn't quite have anything there. Race Dace trying his best to get to Scornsy. I think Scornsy's gotten away better through turn 1 that time. Huxid might be having a move at Aero Racing Design here shortly. ARD does not have DRS. And Huxid's going to be taking the trip around the outside. We're actually down to the inside, technically. Into the third corner. Nicely done there from Huxid. And now Aero Racing Design will have to defend behind from Dusty Lusky, who, despite making the mistake, has been able to hold on and hasn't lost any more. He was under pressure from Gott Palmer momentarily, but has recovered. It looks like Mitch Burns getting around Gott Palmer there. Oh, Mitch Burns way into the gravel, and I hate to say it, I have to think that contact was made there, as he had gone way far into the gravel and hadn't actually spun the car around. I'm going to go ahead and guess there was contact involved with that, because you don't often see a driver go straight on into the gravel through there. Either he's really botched his braking zone or something's happened. We'll have to find some sort of an answer, perhaps make a mental note for myself to try to remember that. Although, in fairness, I can't even really remember what I had for breakfast this morning. Race day 2016, here he goes, making the move up the inside of Scornsy into turn 3. He's not necessarily had to make a lunge for it, but it's not going to come easy. Scornsy's going to have good acceleration. Both drivers with DRS down what I'd say is the back straight here into turn 4. Scornsy's going to have, I'd say, better traction off of turn 4 if he can hang it around the outside. If he can just hold the line there, he'll have the better line into turn 5. Turn 6, rather. Race Day might be having him around the outside here. Oh, he'll be cut off by track limits, I think. The exit curb, he doesn't want to exceed limits there. And I tell you what, Race Day, brilliant job of defending. But, well, he's actually overtaken him there in the end. It was such an elongated overtake that it actually seemed like he was defending the move. But nicely done from Race Day, putting himself into 4th, back to his initial starting spot. Again, he had quite the getaway to forget, did Race Day, but finds himself getting the better of the championship leader here at the moment. Cake Thomas, 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. That, I believe, coming through turn 10 is the only thing I could think of. Here's Edwin up the inside past Shelley the Turtle here. The 4th driver trying to peek his nose into this championship battle. Again, consistency is key, and this has been a very consistent driver so far this season. That Mercedes team as well, entirely, to be honest. Edwin, it has to be said, when you have a teammate such as GSR Ryan Rods, it's a bit like being Yuki Tsunoda and having Lewis Hamilton as your teammate, but I tell you what, GSR Edwin doing a very good job of keeping consistent and keeping his hopes at perhaps a title, even a podium in the Division 1 championship, keeping all that afloat. So nicely done there. Matt Rosie freshly promoted into Division 1 once again. Good to see. He's put some distance between himself and Edwin here. Edwin's been battling with Shelley the Turtle, so that's what that you'd expect. I will say he seems falling behind of his teammate Scornsy, almost outside of a second now. As Scornsy trying to strike back and get back up to Race Day. Meanwhile, Dace pressuring Say here. And it has to be said, Ryan Rods is not exactly pulling out to a massive lead. It's a 1.5 seconds at the moment. But if perhaps Say can get back within DRS range, he might be able to start reeling in that gap. And I tell you what, what's being helpful for Say is not necessarily having to battle or defend behind. So as long as he can keep it consistent, as I believe we've got Gott Palmer taking a spin out of turn 4 into turn 5 there. Not a very convenient place to spin the car around, I'll say that myself. Getting back up to grips there. It looks like this is Dace within 0.4 of Say here. Ryan Rods has had a better sector 3, it seems. Now 0.3 of a second better than it was earlier in the lap, as they make their way through turn 1 to the inside of the circuit looks Say. He's going to force Dace to go the long way around. Smart move from Say. Oh, but he's given up the inside in the end. And Dace is going to... Well, he's not really going to need to outbrake him there. He's really just done that move quite easily. It looks like Say fighting back there for a moment. Almost looked like there was contact involved. Very close. Tried the little switchback maneuver. Didn't quite work. We have another yellow flag. I believe that's Impossible Bacon who spun it. I can't tell if that's coming out of the pits. It does almost look like it is coming out of the pits. It's hard to tell. And we're going to say no. Kick Thomas just spinning it through turn 1. That's his second incident in that part of the track so far in the Grand Prix. Unfortunate for him. And moments ago I said how Ryan Rods wasn't exactly pulling out to a lead here. Well, with the battling behind between Dace and Say, he's now put an extra 5/6 tenths of a second behind. Speaking of which, Say's going to have to defend from Race Day here in a minute. Race Day's got Scornsy behind him. Now, if Race Day can put a car's gap in between Race Day and Scornsy... if Race Day can put a car's gap between himself and Scornsy, perhaps put Say in the middle. That would be very helpful in his championship hunt. Scott Palmer's got 3 seconds for time penalties there. I believe that as well is coming out of turn 10. Neat little battle here towards the back. Perhaps? Hard to tell. Say was within 2/10 of Dace there for a second. I'm afraid that back straight is just not long enough to make an overtake happen. Looks like Scornsy might be having a move here at Race Day. Race Day might have a move at Say. Say might have a move at Dace. Speaking of which, Matt Rosie is in on this as well. He's a little bit further behind, 7/10 of a second behind Scornsy, but has to be said, some good racing here amongst the Division 1 lads. But Dace is going to be at a big disadvantage here. He's got a DRS train behind him. He's the head of it. Has to say, Say kind of looking like... I want to say is struggling for straight line speed here. He's not exactly closing the gap to Dace, Ed. I mean, he's starting to now, as Dace has his recharge on, you can see. But Race Day, I feel like is more closer to pressuring Say than Say is to pressuring Dace. Looks like Scornsy is well behind, playing it safe for the time being. It looks like Shirai has just made a move around Scabney there in towards turn 1. Let's see, Race Day is at about 50%, Say's at 40, Dace at 13, and Scornsy's at 20. Matt Rosie's behind, he's at 27. And Matt Rosie's closed the gap to his teammate here. Oh, well, hang on just a minute. That was a big slide, I believe, for Race Day, as now, that was going through the curb through turn 7, and Scornsy's going to get him going into turn 9. And now, Race Day's going to have to defend behind from Matt Rosie as well. That was a huge error. Thankfully for him, it's not resulted in a spin, but my goodness, that one almost became very, very messy there for those in the top couple of spots here. But now it looks like Scornsy's made a mistake going through turn 1, and Race Day's going to go up the inside, and he's going to take the spot back. Nicely done from Race Day to make room for his mistake that he made, and he's gotten it back. Scornsy now really pressuring. Oh, and that was a big wiggle for Matt Rosie behind, it seemed. Really got loose on traction. It looks like Scornsy's going to have a look down to the inside. Well, he had perhaps a peek, but didn't commit to it. He had a look at the free trial and said, well, I have the free trial. I still have to put in my credit card information. I don't want to be charged for it after. Looks like the two Williams have inverted position once again. That's coming out of turn 4. Some of the metaphors that I come up with just don't even make sense in my head. And then I say them and it makes even less sense. But, you know. On the sake of being spontaneous. Scornsy's still 0.5 of a second behind Race Day. It seems, oh, we got Shelly the Turtle. Sorry, it's actually GSR Edwin coming in. Lap 14. That, it has to be said, seems like an early stop for the Mercedes driver. Remember the mediums, their range, 16 to 20 laps. So it looks like Edwin has actually come in right early. At least 2 or 3 laps. That is a little bit of a surprise. But it has to be said, when the drivers ahead of him do come in, he will be making up a few amount of spots. I'm just not entirely sure, as we have Race Day The Scornsy getting around Race Day there. That's going into turn 4. Lancey getting around Shelly the Turtle, also going into turn 4. See if Lancey's able to hold on to it. Shelly the Turtle had quite good acceleration coming out of 4, and it looks like, yes, the Dutchman is going to be able to hold on to the 7th spot. Yeah, I'm just not really sure Edwin's made a good decision there. He's come in right early. Unless perhaps the degradation is larger than I expected. And maybe not. Ryan Rod's on his way in. Does anyone follow suit? Race Day does. Matt Rosie does not. Scornsy, Say, and Dace are all staying out. This, I have to say, is quite the surprise to me. The undercut in play. Or so it seems. Let's see if actually Edwin can make up any spots here. He's coming out of turn 10 now. Gee, you know, he might make up some. Let's see. Edwin coming in line. Oh, he's just not going to be there in time, will he? He'll carry some good speed, yeah. Unfortunately for Edwin, I think he's missed out there. He comes out behind Matt Rosie. GSR Ryan Rods has put Mitch Burns, Smith Pell, and Nikki 64 in between Race Day 2016. There's a very interesting strategy call that I think may work out in the end. Gap to the leader. Let's look and see where Ryan Rods is. 16 seconds behind as Dace comes in. Say's going to come in as well. Dace nearly botched the entry to the pit lane there. Say really heavy on the brakes. Bit of a smokescreen to Scornsy behind. As GSR Ryan Rods coming out of the final corner now. GSR Ryan Rods has played the undercut to a T, I think. Up the hill now. Dace not out of the pit lane yet. GSR Ryan Rods has made it happen. I don't want to say Dace and Say. I don't think they've necessarily failed an overcut there. Kate Thomas, mind you, I think he... No, he hasn't hit yet. I thought he did. No, I could be wrong. I am wrong from time to time. The Williams duo of Hoxit and Aero Racing Design, two drivers that have actually used some brilliant teamwork so far today, currently occupy the top 2 spots. I think they'll be falling down to P14, P15. Tough to say. Scornsy getting around the outside of Smith Pell here as they exit 4. Race Day in pursuit as well. He's going to try to get around the Alpine as well. Looks like Smith Pell is taking a trip through the gravel recently. Hard to tell, but Race Day 2016, at least now, has the benefit of Scornsy having some traffic ahead. Perhaps even once Cake and them come into the pits as Matt Rosie getting around Smith Pell then. Smith Pell on his way into the pits. Edwin's going to come out behind Matt Rosie, and I think he's actually not that far behind. He may have come out okay from this. Smith Pell falling back. Race Day 2016 might be having a look at Scornsy here. Can he find the room up to the inside? Heavy on the brakes is Race Day. Does he have it? Side by side through turn 3. Owen Scornsy, I think, just had better acceleration around the outside. And I tell you what, that was a brilliant attempt from Race Day. Licked the stamp and sent it. It just didn't work, but now look at this. Scornsy's under pressure here from Cake Thomas side by side. Race Day might have a look if Cake Thomas proceeds to hinder the McLaren anymore. Remember, Cake Thomas has yet to stop. He's had a couple of incidents now, and I think when he does stop, he'll be relegated back to about P19. And it looks like Cake might be coming in now, but he's really got that inside line. Scornsy's had to go wide. Held better acceleration going that wide through turn 9, it has to be said. But now he doesn't have DRS. Race Day, I think, will definitely have the chance going up towards turn 3. Let's see if he's able to. DRS activated here for the Alfa Romeo. He's going to look for it up the inside, and I think he'll be having this one right easily if he could just hold on to it. They break at very even points. And Race Day coming out of the corner. Matt Rosie in behind. He might have to pressure both of them here. Scornsy once again able to hold off Race Day. Scornsy drops to the inside, blocks the line. Back to the outside. He'll have the better acceleration off of 4. Matt Rosie in pursuit. All he can do is sit back and watch. and hope that at least one of them make a mistake. Scornsy still has the inside. It's still side-by-side between the two as they go through turn 6. Race Day using every inch of the circuit that he can, forcing Scornsy to the inside. Heavy over the curb is Race Day. Race Day will have the better line through turns 9 and 10. Well, actually, I don't know if that's true, really. He's going to tuck back in line behind Scornsy. Yeah, I think I was wrong there, to be honest. Matt Rosie, however, in pursuit. Looks like Say within 0.4 of a second of Dace here. This might be a move to look out for. That'll be for the, eventually the second spot as Edwin. Well, Matt Rosie has made a mistake, and Edwin has been able to capitalize. That one was a bit out of the blue there, as it looks like Say making the move around the outside of Dace up the hill through turn 3. And now Race Day and Scornsy side by side yet again. Scornsy's got the outside line, and Race Day is going to have to tuck back in behind. I'm just wondering what happened to Matt Rosie to result in the position loss to Edwin. Edwin really wasn't in the picture to make anything happen, and then suddenly Matt Rosie lost the spot. Scornsy's got the inside line. Going through turn 6. Race Day is going to have to tuck his tail back in line here. And Edwin starting to kind of, I mean, he's on older tires, but in fairness, he's caught himself up to this battle, which is where he needs to be. 2 out of his 3 championship rivals are right ahead of him. The duo of the Williams team of both Hoxton and Aero Racing Design. Remember, they started on the hards. They won't need to stop at least for another 2 to 4 laps. How much of a cushion can they give themselves before they do need to stop? And yet again, well, here's Dace, really close to the back there of Say. Didn't make anything happen. Race Day, once again, we was close as well. Once again, the pit window here is much shorter than I originally predicted. And a driver like Edwin, who wasn't that far off the championship battle. When I say championship battle, wasn't that far off the battle for the top 5. And I don't think he's really benefit that much from the undercut. At the moment, the 2 Williams drivers are in good pace as well. Let's see where they'd fall to. I'd say 20 seconds the most, so they'd be falling to P11, P12. It's not bad. Not exactly where they'd want to be or would like, or yeah, not where they'd want to be whatsoever. Williams, it doesn't seem like, has had a very good season. I forget which one it was. It was one of the blue lads. No, Williams is actually having a pretty all-right season. I'm thinking Alpine. Williams currently 4th in the standings. Behind Alfa Romeo, 1375 to 1319 is Hoxton picking up 3 seconds for multiple warnings there. Not sure where he picked up that penalty. That's a bit odd. Looks like Shelley the Turtle getting around Lancey there with the aid of DRS down in towards turn 4. Race Day is still doing his best he can, trying to pressure Scornsy. But it doesn't necessarily seem like. You see Scornsy was temporarily recharging ahead. It looks like Hoxton, the first one in. His teammate of Aero Racing Design has stayed out. ARD takes the lead of the race. Ryan Rod's there. Where does Hoxton fall to? It's going to be at least to P12, I'd say. Out of the pits now is Hoxton. Got the Alfa Romeo of Gott Palmer and Dusty Lusky coming down the pit straight now. Yeah, I think Hoxton's going to benefit at least a couple of spots there. It looks like Dace getting around Scornsy up the hill through turn 3. Say back down to the inside. It was Dace getting around Say there, not Scornsy, my apologies. But Dace has gotten that move nicely done there, has to be said. These two have been battling for some time now. It's good to see. Icky64, 3 seconds of penalty for multiple warnings, and I tell you what, is he quite slow there? Yes, he is. That is exiting turn 1. A little bit off the pace. Slightly odd to see. Oh, has he got damage on the left front of that car? He has. So there's a piece of front wing somewhere at the bottom of the hill that once belonged to the Alpine of Nicky64. There's a hefty chunk of front wing missing as well. Wondering what part of the track he did hit as Ryan Rod's retaking the lead of the Grand Prix here as Aero Racing Design coming in. little odd. Did he lose it coming off of turn 1 and perhaps hit the outside wall? That's the only place I could think, considering where he was. Race Day and Scornsy, it has to be said, dead even on pace so far. But Race Day's got DRS, Scornsy doesn't. Race Day's going to try the outside this time. That may work better, as we've seen Scornsy's been able to defend that position several times with the grip on the outside. Wheel to wheel now, coming out of turn 3, down the hill towards 4, and Race Day going to pull ahead of the McLaren. The Race Day that time was able to adapt to the car ahead. He saw that Scornsy was having some great progress on the outside line going through turn 3, and Race Day says, hey, I'm going to try that once. He did, and it worked. Now Scornsy finds himself behind the Alfa Romeo once again. Meanwhile, Say starting to actually fall back of Dace quite a bit, it has to be said. Dace does have a penalty. Ryan Rods goes fastest, 106.991. The Dace, it really seems starting to pull away from Say here. It was 0.8 of a second. Say's going to recover a little bit with DRS, but I'll tell you what, that double dosage of DRS on the pit straight out of turn 1, really helpful if your name is Say. You're slowly clawing back the time now. Looks like Edwin might have some pressure here on Scornsy within a matter of laps. Both drivers really low on energy, it has to be said. Race Day looks like he's played it decently conservative at the moment. Only 40%, or 30% now. As you can see, Scornsy, Edwin, and Matt Rosie all within, all lower than 20. Scornsy using his overtake button there. He's really not got much to use. So Hoxid and Aero Racing Design, as there goes Hoxid down to the inside of Lancey through turn 6. Side by side at the moment. Oh, and that's a lot of contact, and suddenly 2 Formula 1 cars become lawnmowers. Oh, and I tell you what, I'm not sure Hoxid's got much argument for that one there. Lancey definitely had the outside, and then suddenly both cars went sideways coming out of turn 6. Oh, and that one's not going to go over well there. And Hoxid, who was having a great race, coming in now, I believe he's either got wing damage or something, but he's choosing to stop. Perhaps he's going to put on the softs. Oh, and Lancey, who's having a decent Grand Prix himself, now finds himself back in 13th. About to say, we haven't seen a lot of side-by-side battles through that corner in particular. Just as I was on about Hoxid and Aero Racing Design both being a net of 4 positions. I'm afraid that's all come crashing down. Thankfully nobody DNF'd and we're able to keep racing here, but goodness me, that was... I'm not sure the Williams has much argument there. Lancey's got 3 seconds for multiple warnings. I tell you what, penalties really starting to come about here. Dace is on 3 seconds, Mitch Burns is on 5, Scavney 5 as well, Lancey 3, Cake 3, Palmer 6, Oxen and Nicky both on 3. As it looks like Say has fallen behind of Dace here by about 1 second and 2/10. Scornsy's within 5/10 on race day, but not really in position to strike back at an overtake here. It'll be 10 laps to go this next time by as Mitch Burns getting around Dusty Lusky with the aid of... Did he even have DRS? His wing was shut well before the braking zone. I'm not sure there. Either way, Aero Racing Design and Shelly the Turtle were side-by-side temporarily. Looks like Aero's gotten around the Aston Martin for the time being. Lancey and Shariah Coleslaw, they're side-by-side going into the turn 4. Matt Rosie, 3-second time penalty for multiple warning. That, I'd have to say, going over the curb through turn 8. Well, he won't be losing a spot to Aero Racing Design behind, but I tell you what, that one, not too helpful for the McLaren there. I will say, though, he's had himself a decent day at the moment. He's been able to... he has lost a spot initially. But, yeah, could be worse. Could definitely be worse. If you ever think something's going bad, it could definitely be going worse somehow. Shelly and Aero battling again here up into turn 3. Doesn't look like Shelley's close enough to make anything happen this time. Although it looks like Scornsy now suddenly within 2/10 of race day ahead. Scornsy wasn't initially that close. I didn't think close enough to really put the pressure on race day ahead, but it looks now. Scornsy certainly might be having to go here shortly. Out of turn 8. Race day won't be having DRS ahead to say at the moment at the detection zone. I think he's held on to it by a mere 4/100ths of a second. Let's see what he got. Yep, race day will have DRS. Really teetering on the brink of not having it to say ahead, and I tell you what, Say's in quite the hole now because he's not got DRS to Dace ahead. He's actually fallen behind up to 2 seconds now. So now Say might really be under pressure from race day and Scornsy here shortly. Looks like Scavney within a little bit of Dusty here. It's been a relatively quiet day from Scavney. He's up 5 spots, though. Edwin's up 3. Dace is up 1, it says. Aero Racing Design up 7. He's had himself a good day. His teammate was having a good day, and I'm afraid was perhaps a victim of his own demise there. At the moment, though, it's still close quarters between positions 3 to 7. It looks like, yeah, Matt Rosie in this as well still. And the only thing is he's lost about another 2/10 to Aero Racing Design, who at the time, in fairness, was battling to Shelley the Turtle. As Cake picking up 3 seconds there. So Aero Racing Design, 0.8 of a second away from taking the spot off of Matt Rosie. Matt Rosie on 3 seconds of penalty. He'd like to remain in this battle with the cars ahead. In fact, the more he has DRS to Edwin ahead, the more he's going to be able to hold on to that 7th spot. But now here's race day. He's going to look to the left side of the track, and he's going to get around Say, only temporarily as well, side by side, out of turn 4, through turn 5 now. Scornsy can only watch and wait to see what happens, and race day has gotten around the Ferrari, only just, and the Ferrari is still right there, right up against the gearbox, and race day's had a much better go at turn 8 then, and Say has fallen off the back of the Alfa Romeo only just, but again, the Alfa Romeo will not have DRS ahead to Dace. Mind you, not that long ago, we were even wondering if race day was going to have DRS to Say, and he was able to make it happen. So now the pressure is back on Scornsy to get around Say and close the amount of points he's going to lose to race day here, assuming race day finishes ahead. Matt Rosie within a couple of tenths of Edwin here. Oh, he's really late braked around the outside. Goodness me, that did not look like it was planned for Matt Rosie. I think he's actually just botched the turn 3 braking zone because he has gone quite wide up the hill. Say within 0.2 of a second. At least he's able to hold on to race day here. Oh, but look at this. Scornsy down to the inside. I think his Say not gotten a good go through turn 4. It certainly seems that way, as now he's side by side with Scornsy for the eventual 4th spot of the Grand Prix. Say's going to try to be later on the brakes through 7. Through 8 they go. Scornsy's got the better line, and he's overtaken the Ferrari. But Say is still right there. Both drivers level pegging as far as energy percentage goes. Both about 11%. Oh, Say's gone properly wide through turn 10 there, and Edwin's going to have an opportunity now. Edwin's going to look for it down the inside, up the hill into turn 1, and I'm afraid for Say, he'll be losing 3 spots here. Oh, and that's big contact, and Edwin's gone around. Oh, no, and that's Edwin. A driver who was on the cusp for some real points here, really cementing himself in this championship battle, and he's tangled with Say. Oh. Yeah, not sure about that one. It was side by side and in the corner. I think you've got to penalize Say there. I'm not entirely sure, because he's not exactly afforded Edwin any room. But was Say far enough to head, or was he far enough ahead to call it his corner? Tough to tell. just based on memory. But I think, honestly, Say might be looking at a 5-second penalty there. Really great battle. Unfortunate it had to end that way. As we are now on the 32nd lap of the Grand Prix. 5 laps to go. Scornsy still trying to minimize the points lost to Race Day ahead. It has to be said, Race Day has had his number all session long. As now, who's that? I believe it's Nicky64 off of turn 1. Thankfully he's not hit anything, but goodness me, that could have been crazy. The Race Day has had Scornsy's number all session so far. Scornsy, not like him to be on the back foot. But I tell you what, next week, I mean, let's just look at the upcoming schedule. We've got Japan next week, the track where qualifying is going to mean everything. And then even more so when you head to Singapore after that. Spain and Barcelona in the final 2 rounds of the season. So get your points, get the cushion in now while you can, before perhaps you have an off week at Japan or Singapore, where qualifying is going to mean everything. And then Spain and Bahrain, it'll be all left out on track, which is, it has to be said, the ending to the season you'd want to see. Exiting turn 1, Say, I believe, is going to get a better go at it than Matt Rossi. Matt Rossi does not have DRS to his teammate ahead, and now, I believe, is within position that he'd be losing the spot to Aero Racing Design as well. It's very close, but it does look as if Matt Rossi will be dropping down to P7 at least. Yellow flag. Oh, it's the Alpine to Nicky64 again, I believe. Say here doing his best, trying to find a way around Matt Rossi. I tell you what, the stats aren't going to say it, but Say, all things considering, has had himself a pretty decent Grand Prix so far. You knew that he was going to be surrounded by unbelievable talents. In fact, can we just compare the points tallies surrounding those drivers? Say currently finds himself bottom of the table, P23, 253 points. And he qualified right up there with Dace, with Ryan Rods, with Race Day, with Scornsy. A P6 finish you'd have to take for certain. P5 considering he's going to get the spot from Matt Rossi here once penalties are applied. If I was Say, I'd consider that a good day. You're down 4 spots, you qualified second, sure. But you were able to hang in there for the majority of the race, and I tell you what, that's certainly more than I can do. It's more than a lot of people could do, that's for sure. So I'd come away with your head held up high if you were Say after this one. We're going to have 2 laps to go at the stripe this next time by. Ryan Rods has pulled out to a 7.5 second lead. Scornsy's got 2 more laps. 6 more DRS opportunities to get around Race Day. But does he have enough? So what's the point tally now? What's the point structure, actually? The gap from P3 to P4 is only 2 points. That's a 5-point gap. So at the moment, the gap from Race Day to Scornsy for the lead of the championship will be whittled down to 3 points if the result holds. But as the result, oh my goodness, Scornsy's really made contact there. Scornsy's going to go around the outside, and he's going to let Race Day have the position back, rightfully so. And I think Scornsy even realized that would have been a properly miserable way to take that position. Thankfully, he didn't get any wing damage, because that was quite the smack that Scornsy had on Race Day going into turn 3. Yeah, that one almost ended poorly. Had Race Day been turned around there, that would have been absolutely incredible. You would have had me sounding like Murray Walker. And let me tell you, that's you know stuff's gotten crazy if I turn into Murray Walker. We'll say within 2.5 tenths here of Matt Rossi ahead, final lap of the Grand Prix, and I think Scornsy, out of respect for his competitor there, is probably going to let Race Day have this one. Matt Rossi's going to get overtaken here from Say, I think. Does he have DRS to Scornsy ahead? No, he does not. So Say's going to be bumped up to 5th. Rosie's going to fall down to 7th, I think. Racing Design's going to have a great day, +9 after all is said and done. As Scornsy's going to be looking down into turn 4 here around the outside. Contact again, I think. It certainly looked as if. Huge implications on the championship here. Scornsy had a peek into turn 6. Nothing could be made of it. Coming through turns 9 and 10 now. Who else but GSR Ryan Rods? Coming out of turn 10, GSR Ryan Rods will win the Austrian Grand Prix. Dace, I believe, is going to be taking 2nd. Unless there's penalties applied. Tough to tell. Yep, Dace is going to hold on to 2nd. Race Day going to come home 3rd. Say will be taking, Scornsy 4th. Say takes 5th. Aero Racing Design up 9. Finishes 6th. Matt Rosie, not a bad effort from him. Finishes 7th. Shelley 8th. Edwin ends up 9th. And Dusty gets bumped up to 10th. But it's GSR Ryan Rods yet again, taking the win here in Division 1. This makes 3 in a row for him as well, let's not forget. 3 wins in a row. 1, 2, 3, 5 on the season. So after it's all said and done here in Division 1, it's GSR Ryan Rods' 5th win of the season, his 3rd in a row. It's Dace in 2nd, Race Day 3rd, Scornsy 4th, Say takes home 5th, 6th belongs to Aero Racing Design, driver of the day as well for him. Matt Rosie 7th is Shelley the Turtle 8th, Edwin 9th, 10th is Dusty Lusky, 11th Mitch Burns, 12th is Lancy, 13th Scavney, 14th Shariah Coleslaw, 15th Kate Thomas, 16th is Scott Palmer, 17th Smith Pell, 18th Hoxton, 19th is Impossible Bacon and Nikki 64 rounding out the field P20. Next week, the grid heads to the Suzuka International Circuits for round 12 of the season here in Division 1. It's an incredible championship battle. I'm very glad. Hotspot on the call. Thank you for joining us. Glad I could be along for this one. We'll see you next week.